On this week's Gridiron Report, we have what the Lions can learn from Super Bowl 60, the Tigers making a number of different roster moves, and the Pistons won't stop brawling, and it's all brought to you by the Pins and Aces, our favorite spot for all golf apparel needs. Use promo code GRIT for 21% off any product at pinsandaces.com. So let's get into it.
In the heart of the city where the lights grow dim, grit and grind every inch, every rim. From the underdogs rising to the legends that win. It's the Gridiron Report, let the games begin. Every highlight's a journey, roads paved with fire, sweat, tears, and hustle that never expire. From the rookies on the rise to the old hands retire. Gridiron is the place for fans to conspire. Hustle on blast, beats thunder and loud. Champions are born from the roar of the crowd. The Gridiron Report, where the stories are proud.
Welcome to the Gridiron Report, your Lions First All Detroit Sports podcast presented by Mic Drop Studios. Today is Wednesday, February 7th, and the Lions were obviously not in the Super Bowl, but since we are a Lions First podcast, I couldn't help but watch it through at least somewhat of a Lions tinted lens, trying watching what maybe the Lions could do, what they could do better, what they actually excelled at this year, things that maybe will put them there next year. Obviously, we started this past year as one of the Super Bowl favorites. I haven't seen the odds, at least I haven't seen final odds. I've seen some early predictions and stuff like that for next year. Everything I'm seeing so far has us at about like the fifth best odds to win the Super Bowl. So watching that game on Sunday night, I just couldn't help but see like, okay, this is where the NFL is going. The NFL is changing wherever. What can the Lions do? What can the Lions replicate? What can they try and avoid in order to have success if, God willing, we ever make it to the Super Bowl? I mean, I don't know about you, but I have definitely a few things in my mind that like the Lions need to do better going into next year if they're going to compete in the NFL.
Yeah, dude, I think, the big thing for me, it's probably low-hanging fruit, but like we saw, the Seahawks just dominate Super Bowl 60. They beat the New England Patriots 29-13. It was all their defense. Like, Sam Darnold was okay. He looked, pretty average. He did, just about enough to win that game. JSN kind of shut down. He was kind of in and out with the concussions. That was something there. But, this game was won on the Seahawks defense. That's just not at all a take. It's just, if you watch that game, you're like, holy shit. And it's not even that. It's not even the Super Bowl. This entire season, the Seahawks defense, number one ranked defense in the league, like, they were just a force to be reckoned with. And that's really the thing that sticks out to me, that like, if there's one thing the Lions just have not been able to do the past 2 seasons plus, it's been play defense. Like, they'll put together games, right? But there's no consistency at all on the defensive side. Offense has been great, and it seems like that defense has really been letting them down. So, for me, I'm looking at the Super Bowl and I'm like, yes, if we can be half as good as that Seahawks defense, I think that this team could go really far with the pieces, including the pieces that we already have. Defensive line, the secondary, those were two just basically forces to be reckoned with for the Seahawks. They were getting to Drake May whenever they wanted. It was honestly awesome. It was an absolute display of defense, and just really the perfect game. So I'm not saying that the Lions should get to that point or could get to the point of having the league's best defense. I think, we have invested a lot more money in the offense. That's fine. You see most Super Bowl winning coaches, like, they are offensive minded. You see a lot of powerhouse offenses winning Super Bowls, but they also come with pretty good defenses too. That's something we just don't have.
It is interesting because like over the last 8 years, really, honestly, you could probably equate it to like Mahomes. Really, since like Mahomes and the Chiefs got popular, and you had Kelsey, and you had Tyreek Hill, the NFL 100% switched to just an offensive-minded league. And you think back to the Chiefs versus the Rams game, with like Jared Goff way back in the day, that was like 40-50, like an insane. Like, the NFL was shifting so much towards an offensive-minded league. Maybe something like this is kind of the writing's on the wall, like you said, that the NFL, the defenses are starting to catch up, and it's always like a give and take. You have a few years, you have the receivers starting to get a whole bunch of money, and it's like a receiver-led league, and then suddenly the receiver market dries up, and you go to running backs, and the running backs start getting paid, and it's a running back league. You got to have a workhorse, and then it's quarterback. So it's all an ebb and flow. Maybe it is starting to come back to like a defensive-minded league. You look at our team. Since Brad Holmes took over, we've had all these toys on the offense. with Ben Johnson, I'm including Ben Johnson in there. We've had all these toys, all this success offensively. Jahmyr Gibbs, J-Mo, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, like all these guys that maybe we just need to start hitting on the defense a little bit. Maybe we just go straight defense in the next draft. And I have my thoughts, like, again, my takeaways for what the Lions need to do moving forward. But like, you look at the team, the Seahawks and this Lions team, I don't think they're that different. You pointed out Sam Darnold was like, okay, and this isn't a Seahawks podcast, but he finished 19 for 38, 202 yards, a touchdown. Like, that's kind of, I could definitely see Jared Goff putting up a stat line like that. It's like not bad, but it's not going to win you the game on that alone. Really good running game from Kenneth Walker, kind of had that in us. So it's like, the only difference really is the offensive line, which I'll get to in a second, and the defense, like you mentioned. And their defense, obviously, pretty much homegrown. The secondary, they drafted Devin Witherspoon. They drafted, a few of the other guys. I think the main difference is that they, at least in the secondary, they hit on their picks. We are still very much yet to see if we're able to hit on our picks with, Ennis Rakestraw, if you want to call that, call that whatever you want. With Terry Arnold still, jury's still out, even though we kind of went to war for Terry Arnold last year. Jury's still very much out on him. So it's like they hit on their guys. We're still waiting to see if we can, even going back before that, they hit on, I think Devin Witherspoon was like a 5th overall pick. Last time we took a cornerback that high, it was Okuda, and we whiffed on that. So, I see 100% defense was defensive minded. I think the offense was very similar to ours. And we had even more toys, maybe, less offensive line. But the defense, they just hit on it more. They hit on their draft picks more than us defensively.
Yeah, they totally have, man. And you just look at the Lions team from last year, like two-thirds of the way through the season, they were the number 1 ranked offense in the league. And they were in the outside looking in terms of playoff contention. So it just goes to show that, your offense is absolutely not the reason why this team didn't make the playoffs last year, struggled last year. I mean, yes, at times, the offensive line, it was far, far from perfect, and definitely things that you have to fill. But I just think, this team is just giving up so many points, and it's something's got to give. It's, if you need to invest a little bit less in this offense just so you can get more guys on defense, I think you need a little bit more balance, because you look at a team like the Seahawks who just sprinted their way to the Super Bowl on the backs of their defense, and I get pretty jealous on that. We're sitting here saying, oh, we got to score 30 a game just to win. Seahawks don't need to do that. Granted, they almost scored in the Super Bowl, but certainly didn't need to. That defense was it was savage mode. So that's biggest takeaway for me. I mean, we know there's so many holes that the Lions need to fill through free agency, through the draft. For me, a lot of it is, the guys up front, offensive, defensive line, and then the secondary, which sucks to say that, we've spent so much draft capital on the secondary, and yet there are still so many question marks, like Terry Arnold, can he stay on the field? Is he any good? You got guys like Kirby Joseph that, stories are coming out that he just doesn't have any cartilage left in his knee, and it's just, I don't know, man. It's just, I'm sounding the alarm on so many different things. It sucks. I wish we could just hit on every draft pick. I know it's hand up, you can't hit on everyone, and we've had so many good drafts, but the past draft, 2 classes just were not as good. So I think that 2023 draft class is kind of overshadowing the rest of what Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have done from a draft perspective, and they got to start hitting again.
Yeah, and I think so. I want to get to my takeaway for the Lions for this, but I want to say, you just mentioned, they start hitting on these. You look at the Patriots. I think I saw on this on the broadcast, they have 30 players in their first year with the Patriots on the roster this past year. So it can be done, quote unquote, overnight, whether that's absolutely just hitting again in a draft class or just not absolutely whiffing in one. Because like you said, you look at the last 2 drafts, and I think you're kind of coming up zeros. Brad Holmes had 1 or 2 legendary drafts, and then since then I think he's really kind of struggled. So my takeaway from this, just the thing that over and over and over again that I saw that I was so jealous that we don't have, that I desperately want us to try and figure it out. That's just, and I thought I saw it in both the offense and defense. It was just the big guys up front. It's both the trenches. And I think this was, it really was a storyline for both teams. Both teams had fantastic defenses. Both teams had incredible defensive lines. Starting with the offensive side, you had the Seattle Seahawks, who only gave up 1 sack, but Sam Darnold was pressured, I think, the same amount of time Drake May was. He was just able to escape or get the ball out, so maybe better reads. But the offensive line kind of struggled in a little bit, and credit to Sam Darnold, he was able to take what they gave him and move around. And they had obviously a rookie on their line, Gray Zabel, I think his name was, guy who I wanted here in Detroit. But then you look on the other side, and New England just got absolutely dominated, like one of the most domination of a position group in quite some time, since like the Buccaneers just ate Patrick Mahomes alive, like 5 years ago or whatever. Drake May got sacked 6 times for 43 yards. Both quarterbacks were under pressure so much that like it just shows how much the trenches matter. And I think maybe what made it even worse for me is because like you think back to literally just last year, 2 years ago, and we had the best offensive line in the NFL, the best offensive line coach in the NFL, and like we were hitting on all strides, and the offense was humming every game. We knew we were going to push guys around, we were going to run the ball, we were going to pass the ball. The offense was so great, and like you said, a lot of times we had to score 30 to win the game, but like we were able to do that. We knew we were going to be able to do that. Now looking back, this past year, I don't know who's starting. I don't know who's going to start moving forward. I don't know who's healthy, who's retiring. I don't know who's even good enough to move forward. So just watching both teams in the trenches, the defensive line just dominating, being jealous that we don't have multiple guys putting up sacks like both these teams did. And then B, on the other side, the offensive side, at least being somewhat of capable like the Seahawks were, even though, again, Sam Darnold was pressured a little bit, but he was able to move out and they were able to make it work. The trenches were really what I took away from this. Like, you got to shore them up going into next year.
Yeah, dude, trenches are huge, man. I mean, like look at New England. They just straight up Drake May 5 for 37, but Ramondre Stevenson 7 for 23. Henderson was 6 for 19. Like these are good backs. Henderson's a good back. Ramondre Stevenson, say what you will, he had a great second half of the season. Like really good running backs, but when you lose that upfront battle and you're just getting worked by the Seahawks defensive line, you're not going to move the ball, and like that team struggled all night. Versus like Kenneth Walker, just 27 for 135. Shout out K9, Super Bowl MVP. It's incredible. But they were able to get pushes up front, and Walker was able to break some tackles too. So yeah, that's something that this Lions team last year, we got zero push like the entire season, and it really you took everything for granted. You're like, yeah, you mentioned it, but 2 seasons ago, best offensive line, and like you think that that's just gonna continue, and then you got a guy retire, a guy your left tackle's kind of over the hill. Things can really crumble really, really quickly. You're starting rookies on the offensive line. Like it's crazy what a difference a year can make, and I'm hoping that we're going to say the same thing going into next season, where or at least halfway through the next season, where you're like, yeah, crazy what a year makes, and like we're so much better now than we were a year ago, because we need to improve big time on the offensive line.
Yeah. Okay, so let's do this. Just put the same game that was played. Obviously, you take out the Seahawks, say we made it to the NFC Championship, we win, we're playing the Patriots. Do the Lions win that game against the Patriots on Sunday night?
I don't think so.
No, you don't?
I don't know. My gut reaction says no. I mean, not that we could even sniff the Super Bowl this year. We didn't even make the playoffs, but just not good enough. I think that Seahawks defense is still very good, and would have us in fits. Would have Jared in fits. And yeah, I don't see us winning that game.
Wait, so you don't see if we were playing the Patriots, we're not beating the Patriots?
No, I don't think so.
I think we can beat the Patriots. I think just the way Drake. I was never a believer of Drake May this entire season, which maybe that just shows I don't know ball, whatever. I never really believed in him. I think if we're in that game, we beat the Patriots. I think in some weird other universe where there's no conferences and somehow we're playing the Seahawks in the Super Bowl, I think we get blown out just as much, if not worse. Kind of how the end is. I mean, if you watch the game, it wasn't a blowout until like the very end, I think. And I think it's more of a blowout for the entirety of the game rather than just the final few minutes if we play the Seahawks in the Super Bowl in some non-conference alternate universe.
I just think there's no way we get to Drake May. Like he would slice and dice our defense.
Have you seen Will Campbell's arms?
I have seen his arms.
The poor guy.
Yeah, he's there's a lot of people saying like they're gonna move him into like the interior of the line. He can't play tackle. It's tough, man. This is a rookie at the end of the day, so I think he probably will improve. But he was in hell. I think there was like advanced stats that say like he was like the worst left tackle in football, like all season. Like the numbers that he put up and the pressures he gave up in the Super Bowl. So yeah, tough time to do that.
I think I saw he gave up, and this is just pulling it off the top of my head. This might be way wrong. I think something like he gave up like 10 or 11 pressures in the Super Bowl alone. And Penei Sewell gave up like 14 pressures all season. So it's like, I mean, that's like maybe, I think we could maybe have our way with him. I think especially maybe, it depends on how good of a game Calvin Shepard is calling. Like, you could maybe call up some Brian, and if we're healthy, you got to go, like, at the end of the year, Brian Branch was out, Terry and Arnold's out. Like, if you put all those guys back in and we're healthy, which is so an unfair hypothetical, but sue me, I don't care, we're going through it. I think you could scheme some things up, get Brian Branch blitzing off the side. They were having a hard time picking up stunts.
I didn't know we were just gonna like regrow another ACL or Achilles for Brian Branch. I didn't know that was on the table.
Did I not tell you? I'm giving my ACL. I'm giving my ACL and my Achilles up for Brian. So we're fully healthy. They're not. They're the exact same healthy that they were into this game. So
does not seem very fair.
We're beating the Patriots. I don't know.
Okay, fuck the Patriots. Yeah, I'm in.
Yes. Okay. So you were in the same. I mean, again, it was a kind of a snooze fest for a lot of the game. I don't think anyone should have been surprised. Like, it was obvious how that game was going to go, and like I said, I was kind of surprised at the end how it got so out of control in the favor of the Seahawks. But anything can happen. They both 3-4 years ago that the Seahawks had to trade away Russell Wilson and kind of hit that reset button, and the Super Bowl champs now. Again, you look at the Patriots, 30 plus players within their first year. In their first year with the Patriots. So, like, it can happen. You just got to be able to put the money up. And honestly, you have to buck the trend of what the Detroit GMs are currently and have been doing, in which just going with your guys and running it back. Something that when we get to the Tigers here in a few minutes, maybe we can start taking that, running with it in some other sports. But you do that, you kind of revamp this offense. You don't need to go into a full rebuild. You can kind of rebuild on the fly and use what we got. But going back to your point, the last thing I'll say, yeah, I think you got to take the toys we have offensively and shift our mindset a little bit. Take a cue from the Pistons and just make teams, make it hell when they come play here in Detroit defensively.
Yeah, love that.
All right, welcome back. So again, right before break, I mentioned how the only way that the Lions can maybe replicate some of the immediate overnight success that we saw the Patriots have this past year is if the GMs maybe take a page out of their book, start doing some on-the-fly roster changes, start making some trades. A move that we actually, obviously we never see it here in Detroit, but we're actually somewhat seeing it. Not somewhat, we're very much seeing it with the Detroit Tigers. We have a number of different roster moves coming from the Tigers. And honestly, for all the people, ourselves included, who continuously call Chris Ilitch cheap and say that we'll never win anything because he's the fourth richest owner in all of sports, but yet he never does anything. He's really shoving us in a locker with all these moves and all this money he's given out. So let's just go through all these roster moves that are happening with the Detroit Tigers. We do have one unfortunate one that we'll get to at the end, but the first and foremost, neither fortunate or unfortunate, I guess it depends on how you see. To the surprise of nobody, the Detroit Tigers lost their arbitration case with Tarek Skubal. We broke down arbitration a few weeks ago, so, and while I'm no expert, go back to that episode if you want just a real high level overview of what it is. But basically, Tarek Skubal wanted to be paid $32 million. We wanted to pay Tarek Skubal, $17 million or something like that, maybe even less. And so it went to a 3-person panel, and they decided to side with Tarek and say, hey, yeah, this guy's a back-to-back Cy Young. First time someone's won back-to-back Cy Young since like Pedro Martinez. He's worth $32 million. So the Tigers, out of nowhere, had to pay the $32 million. That, maybe in the back of their mind, they always knew they were going to lose that. And they, for some reason, they felt they had to at least try for arbitration, whether it's because they thought there was maybe a chance they could win, or they just wanted to show that we won't be pushed over by Scott Boras, which I can kind of get on board with. But neither here nor there, we had to now pay a lot more money than maybe was earmarked for the roster spots and all the other free agents. So all that to say, Tarek Skubal will obviously remain with the Detroit Tigers for this upcoming season, albeit making a lot more money than the Tigers had earmarked for him.
Yeah, and well-deserved. I think everyone and their brother was on the side of Tarek Skubal. He deserves more than that. Just what a joke. 17 mil, whatever, that the Tigers were offering up for the best pitcher on the planet. Yeah, I don't get that. Whatever, neither here nor there. Skubal won it, very well deserved. Still, who knows what that's gonna mean for Skubal going forward? But we have one more year. This might be the last year we have baseball for a little bit. If we're going into a lockout in 2027, this could be this could be it. And I do like that, the Tigers are going all in. We have Skubal, and we got guys like Framber, Valdez, and Verlander too. Just really, I haven't seen the Verlander contract yet. It just broke today. But Framber, Valdez, that's a huge signing, and these guys might have the best rotation in baseball now. It's it's disgusting. And, for Framber and Tarek to both be just disgusting left-handed pitchers who can strike out at high rates, like, I'm super excited. This is going to be must-see baseball, at least from a defensive standpoint. Still don't really know if we're going to have many bats, but the pitching's going to be there, man.
So let's just go in chronological order here because you alluded to both the guys. And again, we have one more other news to go through. So Framber Valdez, 31 years old. He has spent the last 10 years with the Houston Astros. You joked right before we got on the podcast and started recording that the Tigers are just becoming the Houston Astros, obviously with Verlander and with Framber Valdez and obviously AJ Hinch coming from Houston. Framber, the timing with this one was weird because Framber Valdez was easily the best free agent on the market this year. He was there's just to break it down without getting too much into it, there's a little bit of character stuff. There was a weird play last year where it looked like he purposefully confused his catcher, and so the catcher thought a curveball was coming, and then he just threw an absolute heater down the gut and just nailed the catcher right in the chest. They both played it off
like on purpose. By the way,
they both played it off like it was not on purpose and it was an accident. But like you watch it and 100%, like if you know baseball, everyone's like, oh, he confused him purposefully and just beamed him with a fastball down the middle. So like that definitely hurt his value a little bit in the market. He's a little bit older, 31 years old, but he still, again, was the best free agent on the market, in my opinion, at least for, in terms of starting pitchers. And it came out literally within hours of the news that the Detroit Tigers lost their arbitration case. So it's just kind of confusing that they were willing to only pay Tarek Skubal, 13 or 17 million, whatever it is they were trying to pay him. And then they just absolutely dropped the bag for Framber Valdez, which again, I absolutely love it. Like I'm all here for it. But I mean, it was pretty crazy that they did this. And maybe it was something that they had on the books and they just didn't want to release it until the arbitration case was made public, because maybe that was going to hurt them a little bit, even though they were never going to win that in the first place. Some people think maybe if they were in the middle of arguing about only paying Tarek Skubal 13 million and then they go out and drop I think 30 some million for Framber Valdez, that they would obviously, the 3-person panel would be like, if you can pay Framber, you can pay Tarek. So maybe there was some news there or some conspiracy there. But I mean, Framber Valdez, his numbers last year, he has a 3.66 ERA in 31 games, 2 complete games last year, 192 innings pitched, gave up just 78 earned runs, 15 home runs. He had a WHIP of 1.245. So again, WHIP is, if you're right around 1, WHIP is really, really good. Anything 1.3 is still good. 1.5 and above is usually not very good. Below 1 is absolutely insane. So Framber actually had one of his quote unquote down years, if you will, last year, but he still was absolutely dominant. And it gives the Tigers like a true 1-2 monster. Like I think that is, you can probably agree with me or correct me if I'm wrong here. It's the best 1-2 in all pitch in maybe all of baseball, definitely in the AL.
It's an insane one too. I'm so pumped. Like his WAR was right around 4. Has been for the last couple of years. He's pretty incredible, man. I'm extremely excited that we got him. You talked about the money. Yeah, 38 million a year. It's the 3-year contract, 115 million. It's tough to compare that against Skubal. If Skubal was in the market and asking for a 3-year or 4-year, like the Tigers would gladly pay 38 million, 40 million a year. That's just not the case. Skubal's asking for, that 8-year, 9-year contract, maybe longer, $400+ million. And that's where we're pumping the brakes a little bit. So again, I'm not on the Tigers management side. I'm very much still on Tarek Skubal's side, but it's hard to compare those two. I've seen it kind of thrown around like, oh, why are we giving Framber so much money? It's the length. It's the length of the contract, which is not nearly as long as anything that Tarek Skubal is going to garner. So just want to differentiate the two there. But regardless, insane 1-2 punch. And then you throw in just really young pitchers too, like Reese Olson, like Jackson Jobe, who's going to be coming off injury, and then you got veteran presence as well, Justin Verlander. This is just top to bottom. It's got to be the best rotation in baseball, and I'm pumped to see them just shove, especially hopefully another playoff series. Another playoff run, I should say, where you're pitching. I mean, the margins are so fine. And you really need a great 1-2 punch. And you mentioned it. It's got to be the best 1-2 punch in baseball. These guys are studs. Certainly the best 1-2 lefty punch, but I'm pumped.
So just real quick before I jump to JV, you mentioned the longevity of the deal that we signed for Framber. So like that also maybe it can set you up if you're the Detroit Tigers and something happens. There's a very 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 small chance that the Tigers trade Tarik Skubal in season. It kind of is. It's been reported that people who get paid a lot more than us to study baseball, that just like that doesn't happen. You go into arbitration, something like the situation, basically how it unfolded for Tarik to go ahead and then trade him during the season is very, very, very unlikely. Now, there obviously is a chance that he still walks at the end of the season, but since you signed Framber to what, 3 years, you said like that, so that kind of lessens the blow. If you do lose Tarik, you still have what many other teams in the AL and the MLB in general would love to have as their ace. So it lessens the blow a little bit. Suddenly, if you didn't do this, you're looking at your ace being Jack Flaherty. I don't even know if he's still on the books for next year. Maybe you're hoping Casey Mize. Maybe you said Reese Olson and Jackson Jobe coming back. Like you had nobody to really be a bona fide number one. Now it kind of lessens the blow if Tarik does walk next year. So a big if there, but that definitely helps us. I'm glad it's not just a 1 year deal and they're throwing the bag to go all in, which even if that was the case, we would still come on here and be like, got to give it to Chris Ilitch. He is going all in. And the other one, obviously, you mentioned Justin Verlander. So Justin Verlander, the Tigers signed Justin Verlander to a 1 year, $13 million deal to come back, likely retire as a Detroit Tiger. I think, depending on how this season goes, it's all but confirms JV will likely retire and go to the Hall of Fame as a Detroit Tiger. Justin Verlander is like, it's interesting, and it's interesting, but it does not surprising his numbers over the last few years. Obviously, I mean, the man's 42 years old. He turns 43 next week, so he will start next season very much in his 43-year-old season. His numbers are obviously going down. Like his velocity is going down. He's 43 for God's sake. But what he has done so well over the last 2 years, really, as those numbers have gone down, he's changed up his arsenal and really played to his strengths, to his old man's strengths. So last year, he has a curveball, had a whiff rate of 26.6, which was the third highest since 2008. His curveball was one of the best pitches that he threw when he was in his prime here in Detroit. The curveball had slightly slowed down a little bit. I think people were starting to hit it a little bit, so he actually started to throw it less and started getting a higher whiff rate on it. He also figured out how to throw like a sweeper, which was for the first time in his career, had a 27.4 whiff rate, which was absolutely insane. I mean, just to go through some of his other numbers that to kind of show JV evolving in his career. He had his average fastball is 93.9, but it actually got better as the season went on. And he started to use it less, which makes sense. The guy's 43 years old. You use it less. He's able to kind of go to it when he needs to and get the numbers up there. He threw it 50% of the time the first couple of months, and it dropped down to just 41% by September. And he saw all of his numbers. Basically, his whiff numbers skyrocket after he stopped throwing that so much. Over his last 29 starts, he had a reasonable 3.85 ERA, but that over his final 13 starts, that drops down to 2.6. So, I mean, the guy's 43 years old, and a lot of us, I think you and I even talked about it at the trade deadline last year, we're like, hell, bring him here. He was available from the Giants. Like, why not bring him here? So they obviously didn't go on doing that, and they end up doing it now. So, I mean, Justin Verlander, for nothing else, like, it's a fun reunion. He can retire as a Tiger, but like, he's not just a guy that is going to be a face in the dugout. I think he can give you somebody that will give you, good innings. And I think, I don't have the numbers in front of me. I think he would have last year, would have thrown the third most innings for our Tigers rotation. So he's 42 years old, but still putting in work innings pitched wise. I love it. I love this. This makes us heavy favorites for the AL Central. And like you said, absolutely the best rotation in the AL, and has to put us up there with in all of baseball for the World Series, especially him coming back to a pitcher-friendly ballpark. You have to assume his numbers are going to maintain the same.
This is huge. And JV last year, 155 innings pitched, which is awesome just to see him pitch an entire season, stay healthy, get better as the season went on, as you alluded to, like a 2.6 ERA over his last 15 or so. I'm I'm really pumped. And like, you mentioned the trade deadline last year wanting him. I wanted him, and I think we probably both did. But before the season even started last year, before he signed with San Fran, this was a guy where I'm like, we can get this guy for pretty cheap. Bring him back home. He's Justin Verlander. Like, he belongs in Detroit. And lo and behold, he had a pretty great season, even though, I mean, you look at the win-loss, which doesn't really indicate anything. Only 4 wins, 11 losses. But dude, his numbers were good, especially for how old he was, 42, turning 43. Like, he still has quite a bit left in the tank. I think it's a home run hire. I just wish they would have done it sooner. Maybe he could have helped last year, but either way, like, I'm just so excited for him to be home. Like, this is my favorite athlete. Like, not only favorite Detroit athlete, like he is my number one athlete of all time. Grew up watching this guy. Moved to Houston a year after he did, not because of Justin Verlander, but just, really cool to continue to see him play for the Astros. And now he's coming back home, man. And it's so surreal. He's incredible, man. And I'm not going to say he's going to, be the difference in a championship or not, but you never know. And at the very least, this is some great veteran presence for the rest of this, pretty young pitching staff. And I just think it's a home run, man. And I'm so pumped for him to be home.
Yes, this will never happen. But how insane would it be? Opening day back here in Detroit, Justin Verlander's your starter on opening day. Like, obviously that's gonna be Tarek Skubal. Depending on how I haven't seen how the season actually opens. So you'll probably start it, but
it's interesting because like they've been doing this. I haven't seen the schedule for this year, but basically because Detroit, we could easily get snow opening day. We've been doing West Coast. We've been doing like games down south for the first 2 series. So who knows, man? Like maybe you come up on your 5th rotation starter in the rotation when
and
you're back
JV
home and
starting,
and it'd be JV. Yeah, so who knows? Like that's probably a far cry, but man, that would be special.
That would just hit. I mean, like that would. It's already gonna sell. It always sells out anyways. But like that would be. And just picture the Lord blesses us with a beautiful, April day or March day, and it's just Justin Verlander down there beating up on the White Sox or something. Like that would be so incredible. Like I can just picture it now. Yeah. So I mean, we talked about it, how we wanted them to go all in out of nowhere. Like there was nothing, and then out of nowhere we got the arbitration. We got Framber and JV. We got Justin Verlander. We got one more piece of news that I'll get to in a second. But like we're also unfortunately kind of hoping for some bats. We didn't get any bats. I think we actually signed a guy from the Yankees, a free agent coming from the Yankees who had like a 2.19 ERA, like 100 at bats or something, and 5 home runs. So kind of a big nothing burger, an outfielder. Someone Slater, I can't recall his name, but like the one thing that I will say, much as we were going in on the pitching, we are very much hoping that the bats come alive. Riley Green reverts back to his appropriate age self and doesn't continue slowing down like a 50-year-old man and striking out at a historic rate. And torque, it kind of remains like what he did last year. I think he had a pretty good year. And Zach McKinstry's all-star season wasn't a fluke, and Javi Baez is able to keep it going. Like we're very, very much banking on the bats to come alive and maybe some help from the kids down in the farm. But I would have liked, and there's still some hope out there. I don't know. I don't have a list of the free agents still available, but like definitely would have hoped to get at least one bat in there for this upcoming season, and then I'll be absolutely all in. Like give us the championship now if we had one, a major bat if we had gotten. But I don't know. We'll see. We got to give him credit where credit's due. But damn it, I want a little bit more if I could be greedy.
I would absolutely love more, especially like this could be potentially the last season of no salary cap. I would love for them to spend and spend and spend. They did a little bit, beggars can't be choosers. We did get Framber. That's a huge signing that none of us expected. But yes, one more bat. I mean, more than one would be awesome, but at least one more like decent bat could really make this team special. And if not, like you said, like there's a lot of other, eggs in our basket, a lot of young guys that, we're calling up from the minors who you never know, could be a difference maker. It seems like a lot of times rookies just, it takes longer. It's that step up from, AAA to the majors is such a huge step up, and the pitching gets so much better that you see guys struggle. I mean, even look at guys like, Torque, number 1 pick. He's been up and down and struggling at times. Riley Green, like you mentioned, struggling at times. So I would hate to put all of our eggs in, these rookie basket when, there's experienced bats that you probably could have gone and got, and now most of them have already found other teams. So neither here nor there. I digress. I am pumped that we are signing at least pitchers, and I still think it easily could be a special season. And, we'll have to go from there. Opening day right around the corner, man.
And the last thing I'll say, so you mentioned how difficult it would be to just kind of rely on those guys. I mean, that's going AAA to the league. Kevin McGonigal, the guy we're expecting to come up and help us if we need it. He's still in AA. He's only had like 40 games in AA. He's not even in AAA yet, so he'd have to jump AAA. There obviously is an incentive for top-ranked prospects to be brought up and start opening day. If we bring him up to start the season and then he wins Rookie of the Year or finishes, I think, top 3 or top 5 in MVP voting in his first 3 years, we get an extra high draft pick. So gives us a little it tries to get these teams to bring up their young prospects to start the year. Tries to combat holding them down for their, and holding off them their pitch count and clock like that. But the last bit of news for the Tigers before we jump into some Pistons fun stuff. I don't know if you've seen this because you alluded to this earlier in the show, so it sounds like you haven't. We're going to need the help from Justin Verlander because just announced about an hour ago, Reese Olson out for the year with his injury. He obviously got hurt towards the end of last year. There was some rumblings that he was going to be able to make the postseason roster. It has now been announced that he has been placed on a 60-day IL for a labrum surgery that he had successfully performed, but he will not pitch in 2020. Him and Jackson Jobe, maybe there's a chance towards the end of the season we can get him to pitch for us, but Reese Olson going to be out for the year, which is really unfortunate.
I did not realize that the Reese Olson injury was that significant because, like you said, there was like a chance that he could come back in the playoffs last year. Yeah. I guess that was just all a facade, but damn, that sucks. Reese had a great season. Job was dealing before his injury too, so that would suck to see neither of those guys for 2026. But I mean, that just goes to show that the Verlander deal was even that much bigger because, this guy might not be your number 5 anymore. You might be up in the rotation, maybe number 4. Depends on how guys like Jack Flaherty you mentioned, like, is he still on the team? He really struggled. I would love to maybe see Jack Flaherty as your 5 and bump guys up like Casey Mize, who had fantastic seasons, and even like a guy like Justin Verlander. So yeah, that's tough news. I absolutely did not see that.
That came through. Maybe he had surgery on February 2nd. Again, successful shoulder surgery. And then Justin Verlander broke today. Maybe that played into us signing Verlander. Maybe they were always going to bring him back just so, again, he could retire as a Tiger and give him that right. I don't know. We'll never know, but neither here nor there. Let's jump to some Pistons stuff. Before we do, you have a word from one of our sponsors.
Yeah, before we get into Pistons talk, this Pistons segment is brought to you by Good Feels Cannabis Seltzer. The Cannabis Seltzer from Good Feels offers a new era of refreshment. Fellas, very much no longer dry January. I probably shouldn't even have that anywhere written in the ad read because I'm like panicking. What do I say here? But no more dry January. Either way, Good Feels has you covered for whatever you need. If you're looking to avoid the booze or just get a little bit healthier but still have that buzz on. That's crafted from high quality, natural ingredients. These beverages provide a consistent, enjoyable, and uplifting experience, perfect for any occasion. The best part, our listeners can enjoy an exclusive discount with promo code GRIT. That's promo code GRIT for 20% off any product at shop.getgoodfeels.com. Pistons, man, yes, I was, just happily playing Xbox last night. Actually getting my ass kicked in championship game. Shout out our buddy Marshall for another championship in college football 25. And of course, my phone's getting blown up, dude. Pistons, another brawl. There's been another brawl. My dad texted me, "Did you see the Pistons brawl?" So I'm like, oh shit. It's, I don't know. You never like to be the team that's just like, yeah, we're just going to scrap whenever. I do love the grittiness to it, but you got guys like Isaiah Stewart who weren't even playing, coming off the bench. There's already like a precedent set that he's been fighting so much. The league has, there's been rumors that he's going to be suspended for quite a bit. We don't know yet, but it's just something where because you already have brawled so much and you're not even in the game and you weren't a part of any of the tussle leading up to the actual brawl, beef stew. You can't be doing that.
So just to set the scene, the Pistons playing Charlotte at home for Charlotte. And Charlotte, obviously, Pistons number one place in the Eastern Conference, second best record in the NBA. Charlotte was riding a 9-game winning streak, sitting at 25-29. So obviously I think, and they're really nowhere near the playoffs, but they are a red hot team, and they're starting to put it together. They shoot a lot of threes, and they're a good young team. So this kind of meant a lot. I think they were tied for their second longest win streak in franchise history, so it meant a lot for them. Obviously, we don't want to lose any game ever. So it was the middle of the third quarter. Jalen Duren took a drive to the basket, somewhat a hard foul from Moussa Diabate. I didn't think it was that hard. It just kind of like wrapped him up so he couldn't get the shot up, which is what you're taught to do. If you're going to foul them, make sure they don't get the shot up. Don't hurt them, but then make sure they don't get the shot up.
It was definitely a hard foul.
Yeah, I mean, I was okay with the foul. I mean, it was a hard foul. They go head to head, start kind of just jawing at each other, and I think their foreheads actually ended up touching. And then Jalen Duren took his hand and just palmed Moussa Diabate's face and kind of shoved it out of the way. Again, I think Moussa was the one who somewhat initiated the forehead, touching, and then Jalen Duren shoved the face away. And then Moussa Diabate he flipped it. He flipped a nut, and he was just going at Jalen Duren, immediately trying to throw punches. Jalen, and to his defense, before it really escalated any further, it was kind of like a step back and was like, he looked like he was going to fight for a second, but then kind of realized this guy is like going nuts. Step back. A whole bunch of other players and coaches just got in the way and stopped him. Moussa Diabate was going at him for a good few seconds. Then suddenly Miles Bridges came in, Michigan State grad. I think we're going to disavow him. We already probably should have because of all the allegations towards him. He came in and tried to jump in that fight too and get to Jalen Duren. That's when Beef Stew, who was on the bench, as you mentioned, not in the game, saw that happening and was not about to let that happen. He came flying down the court, as he seems to like to do, got in Miles Bridges' face. They started tussling. No punches were thrown. I don't think any actually connected. At the end of the day, all four were thrown out. Moussa Diabate, Miles Bridges, Jalen Duren, and Isaiah Stewart. Likely, this is the suspension scenario that I see it happening. I think Jalen Duren's probably going to get 1 game suspended just because he did end up throwing a non-connecting, but throwing a punch really did. I mean, he kind of was just defending himself in a little bit. He'll probably get 1 game suspended. Moussa Diabate will probably, and Miles Bridges probably will get 2 to 3. Isaiah Stewart, like you said, will likely get, I think, probably 5. If they really want to make a statement, they could push it to 10. But you mentioned there's the precedence that, like, if you're out of the game, if you come off the bench, no matter what, come off the bench to fight, it's an immediate suspension, and it's a guy who has the reputation that Isaiah Stewart has. So they could push it and make a statement and push it to 10. I want to get your thoughts on like whether, and you kind of alluded to it, like I'm all here for the grit too. Thank God Ron Holland wasn't active in that game because you knew Ron Holland absolutely would have been thrown out too and he would be suspended. I just like it's gonna be so easy for a team. Like if I'm a team in the playoffs, 100% I'm throwing one of our guys that's useless at Isaiah Stewart and I'm getting him to fight. You can kick our guy out either. I don't care. We're throwing a random guy at you and we're gonna get you kicked out and we're gonna get you suspended because it's going to be so easy to get under his skin. Like, we need him. He's so important to this team. And so, like, I'm fine with, like, you want to support your boys and you want to, tussle or whatever. Emotions are high. I get that, whatever. I think it's a little immature. I think you need to be better. But, like, I think this is such an easy weakness that if any smart team in the playoffs are playing Detroit, 100% I'm going to try and, stoke this fire and get him angry and, pin him against the referees. And, like, if we got to throw one of our guys out too, I don't care. I think this is 100% going to come back to bite us in the ass that he cannot let this happen moving forward.
Dude, for sure. Like we gotta be so much smarter. Like, and we've talked about this in podcasts before, but like there's a difference between, getting it done like legally within the realm of the NBA rules and still like being that smash mouth team. There's a difference between that and doing what we're doing is, brawling at least a couple times a year, getting ejections. And every time that you do something like this, there's more, the league is just going to have less and less patience and you're going to be suspended longer and longer. So in Beef Stew's case, yeah, I could easily see 5. I could see 10. I could see them going straight to 10 games because like they need to, something to actually sink in this kid's head that like, especially coming off the bench, you're in fucking sweatpants, street clothes, whatever he was wearing, which is, it is hysterical to me as well. Like just the clips of him coming off the bench. It's man, the clips were awesome, but still, it's not something we need. And especially a team like, you're doing so well, and like Beef Stew is a big part of it. His defense, especially around the rim, has been insane. If you're suspended for 10 games, like just for nothing, like there's something that easily could be avoided by just not being a dumbass, like not doing that. I think it's a tough scene, man. And yeah, loved your point that like teams are going to continue to try to get under your skin. Now you could say the opposite, like we are also getting under these teams' skin. We're beating the shit out of them, like legally, the best defense in the league, and that could lead to some brawling. So it's a little bit of a chicken or the egg situation, but yes, I would totally be saying like, yeah, you can get under this team's skin. You could potentially get guys ejected. Look at, a series like NBA Finals in, I think, 2016 when, Draymond gets ejected. I know it's a little bit different, but still ejected, suspended for a game. The series completely flipped on its head. So like, these series where you're in the playoffs and, we talk about it in baseball, same thing in football or in basketball, like the margins are razor thin, and like losing a guy like Beef Stew for even a game in the playoffs can be the difference between winning and losing a series. So we got to be so much smarter.
I mean, that literally was the difference everyone really says like we probably would beat the Knicks last year if we have a healthy Beef Stew. And what's more important that like, yeah, he's got to be smarter. You hope that he is, he can mature in the coaching staff or it works with them, especially for the playoffs. But like, look at right now, this obviously already happened. There's no changing it. I don't care how many games he's suspended. At a minimum, he's going to be suspended like 3 games. That's like the safest of best. A minimum 3 games. We have Toronto on Wednesday. They're obviously 5th place in the Eastern Conference. We have New York just after them, obviously 2nd place. We have Chicago after them, who is down 11, so that doesn't really matter. Then you have San Antonio, who's in 2nd place in the West. And then you have Oklahoma City, who's in 1st place in the West. And then you have Cleveland, who's in 4th place in the East. The next, 6, 7, 8 games outside of the one Chicago game. Oh, damn it. Outside of the one Chicago game, these are all games that like could very, very much change the standings of who gets the 1st place in the East. Losing Isaiah Stewart is arguably, we'll get to it here in a second, arguably one of the most important guys on this roster. So you hope moving forward he's absolutely smarter and better than this. But like right here, right now, it sucks. It really does suck that we're going to be missing him for the next, at least minimum probably 5 games.
It's almost like, I mean, what can you do? Like as a coach, I'm thinking like, putting myself in JB Bickerstaff's shoes, like, that JB has been coaching up Stu to like not do this. Like you got to be smarter than this. You're so integral to this team. And yet he's still continually, brawling and fighting, getting these skirmishes, getting suspended. So yeah, I don't know how much more that you could do if you're JB, but something's got to give. Cause it would suck to cough up the East. I mean, this massive lead in the East, just because of just sheer, dumbassness, so yeah, it's, you gotta be smarter.
We all know somebody who's, just immediately sees red and there's no stopping when it happens. I mean, but that's why people get paid a lot more money than us to be holdback guys and, to work with therapists and see the team and, try and work through those and not let that be the case. So yeah, we had a whole Pistons segment set up to go into outside of this, but then obviously they had to go out and brawl once again. So we changed the plans. We'll get to that topic next week. So tune into next week's Pistons talk as we break down some roster things and have some fun with that stuff. But let's go ahead and wrap up our show then with Grit of the Week. Before we do that, Grit of the Week is brought to you by Pins and Aces. It actually is. I know I alluded to it last week and said it's getting warmer here up in Michigan. It's actually 45 degrees. Most of the snow is gone here in Michigan. Obviously, we probably have at least 2 to 3 more snowstorms in us going through March and into April. But hey, we're just about to golf season. Pins and Aces is a Colorado-based golf brand making premium polos, head covers, and gear that perform on the course and stand out everywhere else. This is all stuff that's made in the USA with quality you can actually feel. This isn't cheap stuff that you get that's going to be shipped over here and fall apart the first time you go out and wear it, or, just be absolutely terrible quality. You guys can enjoy an exclusive discount with our promo code GRIT at pinsandaces.com. That's promo code GRIT, G-R-I-T, at pinsandaces.com for 21% off. I will kick us off our Grit of the Week. We just spent a good amount of time talking about the Pistons, talking about the brawl that happened, losing Jalen Duren, losing Isaiah Stewart. My grid of the week, and I had two of these, so I'm curious to see where you go with yours, see if maybe my other one gets some love. If not, I'll give it to him next week. It's going to be B-ball Paul, basketball Paul Reed. If you watch the game, you know...
Full name, basketball.
Basketball Paul Reed, that's his legal name, I'm sure. If you watch the game, you know how integral he was to this game. I already brought up how the Hornets were on an insane 9-game win streak. They're extremely hot from three. Con Kneppel is one of the best rookie shooters from deep. They were hot, and they were, at one point, we were up by 28 points in this game, and then the guys got kicked out. We lost two of our starters, obviously one all-star. And the Charlotte Hornets started to slowly take that away. Paul Reed stepped in, cold off the bench because we had basically no centers to move forward, and he immediately just stopped any sort of comeback they had. He was electric in that game. In the game last night, he ended up playing just 18 minutes because he obviously came in midway through the third quarter. He had finished the game with 12 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals, 1 block, had a 3-pointer. I mean, it was like he came in within 3 minutes. He had 9 points, 2 rebounds, 2 blocks or something. Like, he came in immediately just cold off the bench. You don't know how hard it is to not know when you're going to play and just immediately be thrown into the middle of a game, a heated game like that at someone else's stadium that the fans are absolutely in, and just shut it down. His effort was there. His hustle was there. His performance was there. Basketball Paul Reed, we don't win that game last night without you. So shout out to Paul Reed, my grid of the week.
Shout out basketball Paul. I don't know if you just made that up or if like it's actually been floating through Twitter or something. I've never heard basketball Paul. It's always b-ball Paul. I love that full name. But yeah, he was awesome when they needed it most. Because yeah, like you said, the Hornets were totally closing the gap on that game. So shout out b-ball Paul, grid of the week. I am going with, I don't know if you had this guy in mind, but pretty easy one for me. We talked about it before. Super Bowl 60 MVP, my grid of the week, Kenneth Walker.
Oh, that's
first
a good one.
Spartan to win Super Bowl MVP. First running back to win Super Bowl MVP since the 80s. I don't have it up in front of me. Certainly since like late 80s, early 90s, possibly before that. But this is very much a quarterback award. Non-quarterbacks to win it are usually like, someone on the defense, a defensive lineman. This is huge, man, for, running back. Running backs are fully back. They've been back in the NFL for, a number of years now, after it seemed like wide receivers were taking over. Running backs are back, man. And so is Kenneth Walker. So is the Michigan State Spartans. This is a guy who I still think, not that it matters, but I still think he got snubbed from Heisman contention. Didn't get the invite to New York. This is a guy who is very deserving of being a bell cow and really has been splitting carries like almost his entire career. So took an injury to Zach Charbonnet to really make Kenneth Walker just the guy in the backfield. And he was incredible, man. 27 carries, 135 yards, long of 30. Had a touchdown called back at the end due to, I think, a hold that really would have just solidified things. But either way, just an incredible effort. One of the biggest reasons why the Seahawks won that game and scored points from an offensive standpoint. Grid of the week, K9 Kenny Walker.
Kenny Walker, he finished the day with 27 carries, 135 yards, averaged 5 per touch, had his long of 30. And he actually had another long of like 30 or 50 or something that got called back, I believe. Kenny Walker was incredible. I actually bet his under in rushing yards because of New England's insane rush defense. Milton Williams, one of the best rush stoppers in the NFL. So I bet his under, and that I think got blown in like the first quarter, I think, after like their third drive. So Kenny was absolutely great. He was the guy who you already kind of alluded to it, absolutely snubbed from the Heisman finalists. I think the past it's like 5 to 6 national players of the year end up going on to win the Heisman. Kenny Walker was like the only one who wasn't. Obviously, he kind of got snubbed there by the big block M over Michigan with Aiden Hutchinson, who we obviously love now. But yeah, Kenny Walker, I did not see you going that way, and that's a great call because not a Lions player, but obviously a Michigan State legend. So shout out to Kenny Walker, absolutely deserving of a grid of the week to go along with B-ball Paul Reed. All right, that's our show. Thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode. You can follow both of us, Kyle and I, on Twitter at Kyle_Marino and myself at Dutton_Tyler. You can follow the podcast itself on Instagram or TikTok at Gridiron Report. are on Twitter at Gridiron Report 1. You can watch these full-length episodes on YouTube at Gridiron Report. Finally, you can join the podcast conversation next week by calling into the Gridiron Report voicemail for us to play and discuss on the podcast. That number is 313-306-7939. And then finally, if you like this episode, please rate it 5 stars. Leave us a review saying so. Follow us on all forms of social media. Call the voice line. Give us your thoughts on these Tigers signing. Give us your thoughts as we ramp up for the Pistons, what you thought about all their constant brawling, whatever you think about Detroit sports. Call that voice line. We'll get you on the show. Discuss it for us. Thank you guys for listening.
Thanks, y'all. Let's go Pistons.
A journey, roads paved with fire, sweat, tears, and hustle that never expire. From the rookies on the rise to the old hands retired, grit iron is the place for fans to conspire. Hustle on blast, beats thundering loud. Champions are born from the roar of the crowd. The Gridiron Report, where the stories are proud. Tune in, bring the heat, make your fandom a vow.